Welcome to the Fuse Life Podcast, episode 141. I am really excited to talk about this subject and many other subjects. But leadership, I think, is a very important because a lot of us have leadership, right? We've learned leadership from when we were kids, at home, at school, church, and we have all these about what a leader is and what leadership is. And I just want to smash out the first problem that I see with leadership is that many people that everyone can be a leader, that everyone is a potential leader, but I believe that they are. I believe every person is a potential leader, and you and I should be leading. Now that doesn't. You got to go find yourself a title. You got to go make yourself someone important, and people will follow you. Right? Hey, sorry, it says there's an echo. Is there an echo? Let me know. Okay, there should be no echo now. So we're good. So we're talking about leadership and the importance of leadership and why I think it's misunderstood in many places. And the main misunderstanding is that few people are leaders, that leaders are born, that some leaders have a special characteristic, some special ability, and others don't. And I want to just smash that all out of the park right now, that I don't think that is true. I don't believe that is true. And I believe we're all called to be leaders. Now, the way we've been taught leadership is you have a title, you have a prestige, you have a position, and these people that will publicly acknowledge you, publicly follow you. That's proof of your leadership. So I just want to smash some of these things before I go into the three most important elements that I think we should be focusing on in this next decade when it comes to kingdom leadership, right? So there are leaders who have no title, who don't need a title, but they're leaders because of how they live, and people give them influence in their life. There are leaders who publicly will never be known as a leader. No one will ever know the full influence they have really had on the planet because their mission doesn't require them to publicly be seen as a leader. So we got to break out of all these paradigms, right? Good leaders are bred, not born. They're raised, they're trained. And I believe every person should be seeking to be a good leader, right? That you, if you're listening to me, you are called to be a leader and called to be a good leader. And when you start doing the first element, which I'm going to talk about soon, you will automatically find that there will be some people that give you influence in their life. Every person, as you're growing up and then you get married to some form, you're leading first yourself, you're leading the people around you, and then you end up leading a family, right? As a mother or a father, you're leading the family. Leadership is massive, and it's every person is born to be a leader. So I just want to smash that out of the way, because as soon as I talk about leadership, a lot of times people go straight to church leadership, titles, what that means, all that kind of stuff. So you are a leader. Say this to yourself. I am a leader. I am a leader. All right. So the three main points I want to talk about today. The first point actually is self-leadership, which is a massive point. There are a lot of people who seek to lead others, but don't actually lead themselves. They seek to lead other people to places they don't go. They seek followers. And this is a big problem, because when I seek followers and I find people that just want to follow me, they want to follow me without ever checking if I lead myself. They just want to follow me. I know that I am not walking with leaders now. All right. So for me, even though there are people that walk with me and learn from me, they're all leaders to me. And we are all on this bridge, on this journey of maturing and becoming better leaders ourselves. So good leaders actually don't want followers. They want to walk with other good leaders, right? But leaders who need their ego stroked, leaders who need their validation from feeling needed, feeling important, from being seen as something, they just want followers. They want people who will just say amen to everything they say. They want people to chase them places. They're not necessarily interested in raising up other leaders. So good leaders raise up other leaders. It's a natural byproduct when you have self-leadership. So as I talk about this, I would love for you to take account for your own life, right? Self-leadership. How do I lead myself? How do you lead yourself? What do you do when you don't feel like doing things? Do you still get things done? What do you do when decisions are hard to make? What do you do when you face hard choices, which we all face all the time? What do you do when you are in a conflict situation? What do you do when you face your own insecurity? We all face our own insecurities at different times. What do you do when you see things in you that you don't like? How do you respond? How do you lead yourself, right? Self-leadership is priority. And we see in Jesus's life, before he even goes deeper into ministry, he's already had this record of self-leadership, leading himself in his mission, his purpose, his plan. How do you lead yourself? Constantly, I meet people that seek to have influence in other people's lives that they don't have in their own. They don't have in their own, right? So some of the things around self-leadership that maybe you want to think about is, how do you lead your mind, your mindset, when your emotions go all over the place, when situations come up that cause your internal equilibrium to be out of kilter? How do you lead yourself? How do you lead your body, your own body? Do you take care of your body? Can I tell you that when you meet people, and some people are not going to like this, right? But when I meet people who don't pay any attention to their body, who have let their body go, I already know they've let something else go in their mind, right? They might be great at certain things, but as a whole, as a leader, there's a problem here when you let your body go. So your body is one of the key indicators. And I'm not saying you need to be ripped with a six-pack, but the fact that you are healthy, you can run a kilometer, you can take care of your body, it matters. The fact that you show that you can control what you put in your mouth and what you don't put in your mouth, it matters, because it affects every other part of your life, right? Self-leadership, how you lead yourself in how you carry yourself, how you speak, how you walk with other people. Important. Self-leadership. So that's number one. That's my question to you. How are you leading yourself? And I think this is a very important question, especially amongst believers, especially around Christians. This is a subject that we don't talk about enough because we're scared to rock the boat. But we're all called to be better leaders, and leading ourselves is where it begins, right? So let me know in the comments some of your thoughts around this. Self-leadership. How are you leading yourself? Okay, that's the first part. Now, why is this important? This is important because this is what develops your capacity. This is how you develop your capacity to move into cycles. This is how you develop your capacity to move into the next phase of things that God has for you. I can never raise up other people, right? And this is the part that I've seen a lot of. Jesus talks about the Pharisees and he says, do what they say, don't do what they do. It is very possible to see leadership that says all the right things, but doesn't do it, right? And I think that self-leadership becomes the most important point. Number one, right, is that I lead myself. I know how to lead myself before I can lead others. I don't try and lead others where I don't go. I don't try and walk with others on a journey that I'm not willing to go on. I don't give advice, counsel, try and influence people in their life in a way where I don't do that for myself, right? So number one, self-leadership. The second part I want to go into quickly is invisible leadership. Good leaders are not seeking to be seen. Their goal is not to be the head honcho. Their goal is not to be the big dog in the yard. Their goal is not to be seen as the one that is more special than everybody else, right? Good leaders, their goal is to walk with other people and bring out the best in everyone else as they're bringing out the best in themselves, and they're not seeking to one-up themselves over anyone else. We see this in Jesus's life when they come to arrest him, and they didn't know who he was. They had to figure out which one was Jesus. Now, in most leadership, the way we see it, the leader would be dressed differently, would be standing out, would have a prestigious seat, would be somehow set apart externally so that everyone can see this is the leader. But when they come to find Jesus, they don't know which one is Jesus, right? They need a betrayal kiss. They need to ask the question. And if you remember the story, Jesus stands up And he says, I am he. And then they all fall to the ground, right? There's an amazing supernatural encounter that they have there. But Jesus lived invisible leadership. He wasn't leading to be seen. He wasn't leading to be the guy. He wasn't leading to be known. And another way you know this is Jesus is willing to leave, right? There is a point where Jesus goes, it is better for you that I leave. And he's following his mandate. And he allows these other leaders, these budding leaders who don't even realize that they are leaders, to step into that zone. Today, you'll see most leaders they find it hard to let go. They find it hard to release. They find it hard to let other people go and move out of the way. But Jesus demonstrates this invisible leadership where I am here to fulfill a mandate. I'm here to walk with other people, bring out their greatness, but I don't need to be the head honcho that is seen as it. So I've been in many situations, in teams, in churches, in places where there are leaders who have titles, and then there are actual leaders who have the influence. And a lot of times the leaders who have titles try and use the leaders who have influence to get influence with the people. And it's really interesting when you think about what I'm saying, right? I know a lot of people that have gotten in trouble because of their influence. They don't have a title in a place, but because they have influence, the leaders with the title know, right? They know. Very rarely are the leaders with the title that have the influence. In many places that I've been, there are others who have the real influence amongst the people. An example of this is Mahatma Gandhi. And I've used this example before of how he had influence in a whole nation, but he didn't have a title. He wasn't a politician. He wasn't running for parliament, but he had influence in the whole nation. So these politicians who had titles, who had leadership based on title, tried to get his influence, right? They tried to sway the influence that he had with the people for their benefit. But good leaders focus on invisible leadership. They're just getting it done and don't need to be seen, don't need to be set apart externally, don't need that external validation, right? So that's the second point, invisible leadership. And then the third thing I want to talk about is parent-style leadership. And I think this one's really, really important. And I never looked at it like this until my last 5 to 7 years of walking with people. Parent-style leadership. When you think about a parent, a good parent that's raising a child, at the beginning of the journey, they know that they are really needed. They are needed by their child. They're needed by the baby. They spend hours just helping baby do basic things. But as the baby grows, the parent understands that actually I am equipping you for life. I'm not equipping you for one thing. Like a lot of traditional Christian thinking, we've equipped people for ministry, right? But not for life. For life, because we've separated that element of understanding that actually God is in our whole life, not just in ministry the way we've known it. And so we've equipped people for certain things, moving in the spirit or moving in the gifts or learning how to read the word. But parent-style leadership is I'm equipping you for life. I'm equipping you for everything you are going to face. And I'm not teaching you what to think. I'm teaching you how to think. I'm not telling you what to do. Right? Obviously, when you're a baby, when you're a child, there is more instruction. But I'm also training you on why we do what we do and how we do it and what the point is. Right? I'm equipping my child to be able to do life without me. Parent-style leadership raises children up and progressively backs away to allow the child to step into independence. Only when you go through independence can you then come into true interdependence, right? There are 3 ways we can do this. There is codependency. Maybe let's not go into that yet. Let's start here. There is dependency. Well, I'm just depending on you for everything all the time, which is unhealthy, right? As you're growing older, it's unhealthy. As a baby, totally fine, totally normal. But as you're growing older, that dependency is unhealthy, right? Then there's independency, which usually you see in a 13-year-old, 15-year-old. I want to separate myself. I'm finding who I am. I'm spreading my wings. I'm flexing my muscles, right? This independency, because in that independent phase, a child starts to learn who they are. They make mistakes, and a teenager the identity starts to really form. right? They start to make ideas of who am I? What do I carry? What's good about me? Who am I outside of these other people that have been so close to me for so long? But then in your mid-20s, late 20s, right? If you're going through a healthy journey, usually you come full circle into interdependence, and you start to see how you really fit in your family. You start to see how you need them a little bit, they need you a little bit, how you work together, interdependency. So it's you go through dependency into independency into interdependency, which is where the real power is. Now, a lot of us have only seen team dynamics that are stuck at dependency. You need me, I need you. And because of that, you don't get the best version of who the people are with you. I want to give you an example. Let's say Jack comes into my life, right? And Jack, we begin this journey, and Jack is very dependent on me. Great. At the beginning, Jack has no idea what to do. He is dependent on me. But as we are growing, and as Jack is growing, and I am willing to step away and let Jack find himself, it is not my job to keep telling Jack who he is and making him do what I think he should do. I'm helping Jack find himself. So in that independent phase, our relationship changes a little bit. Jack might start to flex a little bit. Maybe Jack, for a while, even thinks he's better than me, right? In the sense that he thinks he wants to be better than me, whatever. And I have total freedom where I'm not trying to make Jack anything I think he should be. He is growing into that to where eventually Jack comes to a place where he's like, oh, I'm Jack and that's Joseph. I see what's amazing about Joseph. I see what's amazing about Jack. Let's put them both together and we're going to do something amazing together. Parent-style leadership. I think this is super important because a lot of us have only learned leadership based on what we're going to do together, based on doctrinal understanding, based on the transaction. What are you going to give me? Based on that, here's what I'm going to give you. Or the doctrinal understanding. Hey, are you doing what I think you should do? Well, our connection is based on that. But parent-style leadership is pure love. I am going to love you, Jack, and I'm going to walk with you as you walk out your own journey, and you are going to get multiple chances to choose me back, but I am never going to force you into it. And you see this in Jesus's life when he starts to walk with the disciples. They think Jesus is coming to do A, B, C, and that he's going to do it their way. They watch him live. They learn, they train, they see his heart. Meanwhile, he is raising them up. How do we know that Jesus was fathering the disciples? He says to them, I no longer leave you as orphans. Right? So he's like, I'm going, but that doesn't mean you're an orphan now. I've been in the place of father for you, right? And when I say father, I don't mean title. I mean function. I don't mean you should run around calling people father, father, father. I mean function. Fathers and mothers, they fulfill the function. They don't need the title. In fact, most of you, if you look back at your life, you're going to see men and women who fulfilled a function of a parent in your life. They didn't necessarily need a title, but they were fathering and mothering you, right? So I'm not talking about the title. I'm talking about the function. These guys were fathered by Jesus, and you see him ready to leave because they have come of age. They are ready, but he gives them total freedom to choose. And when he gets on the cross, there's only one guy there. The others have all gone. One has already committed suicide, and the other 10 have run away. Jesus' love for them doesn't change one bit. Right? It didn't change at all. Parent-style leadership. When you're leading parent-style leadership, you don't change your love for people based on how they behave, what they believe in, you don't, like your natural children. As they're growing up, it might hurt you, the decisions they make, the things they do, but you never stop being their dad. You never stop being their mom. Parent-style leadership is super important in this next decade. So the 3 elements, just to quickly recap: self-leadership, which develops capacity. If I'm not leading myself, which should be the focus, right? When I'm not leading myself, there is no way I'm going to be an effective leader of other people. And I would like to propose to you that if you become a good leader of self, you will automatically have others who will seek out your influence because they see the fruit of your self-leadership and they see you growing and the capacity building in you. Point two, invisible leadership. Leadership that doesn't need a title, doesn't need to be seen, is not worried about whether people know that you're leading or not, but leadership that is fulfilling the mission, that is bringing out the best, the gold in everyone around them. Invisible leadership. Don't need to be the one that has to be seen and had to be known. I want to give you an example. When I was growing in this, and there were people I was leading, and they would do something amazing. And they would do something amazing because of me, maybe because of something I trained them in, or an advice I gave them, an idea I shared with them. When I was still growing in this as a younger, in terms of maturity, as a younger man, I needed credit. I needed them to somehow credit me. 7 years ago, 8 years ago, I needed someone to credit me. Give me the credit. Yeah, I know you did amazing. I'm happy for you. But in my heart, secretly somewhere, I wished that they would give me the credit, right? That was a sign I'm still growing in my maturity. Invisible leadership doesn't need the credit. It fulfills the mission without needing the title, without needing the credit. Like a SEAL team, like a Navy SEAL team, like SEAL Team 6. They go into a place, they get the job done and come out, and nobody knows who did it. Nobody knows how it happened, when it happened, and they don't care. They don't need to be known. Invisible leadership. Jesus was a great example of invisible leadership. And the last point, parent-style leadership, where you're thinking like a parent. You're raising someone up, you're walking with them, you're loving on them, you're going through dependency into interdependency, dependency into independency, and then into interdependency, where you can come together and collaborate in a really healthy way. So I chose the subject today because leadership, I think, is very important. And most people take the foot off the pedal in the first one, self-leadership. Right, so as we wrap this episode up, I'm praying that you will start thinking about what kind of leader you are, not to other people, to yourself. And when you become a good leader to yourself, you will automatically become a good leader to other people. You will automatically have other people who will want your influence and will grow in their own leadership ability. Let me say a couple of things here just as I wrap it up. There are a lot of followers. Good leaders are not seeking followers. They want to walk with other leaders and bring out the potential that's in these other leaders, right? That's what good leaders do. They're not looking for followers. There are a lot of people who are considered good leaders because they have followers. But think about this. What kind of parent would you be considered to be if your child at 25 still wants to be breastfed? If you walk past and you saw a family and a 25-year-old boy wants to be breastfed by his mom, what would you think about the leadership that's happened in that family? That wouldn't be something that you are going to celebrate. Are you with me? A lot of our church culture has been like that. We have trained people to become dependent, and we've been scared of the independent phase, but we don't understand we have to go through the independent phase to come into the interdependent phase. When I was a young boy, my father was my hero, totally dependent. When I'm 13 to 15, I start learning some things, and I see my father as my competition. And I started to have thoughts like, I'm better than him. Independence. I become 25. I'm growing into manhood. I get married, and I start to see my father for who he is as a man. And now we have interdependence, true collaboration. We came into oneness through that. And so parent-style leadership gives people the freedom as they become a teenager and they want to flex their muscles and do things. And they might even say things to you. They might even reject you. They might even try and one-up you, but you're the parent. So you're okay with it because they're going to mature out of that one day. And I think this is really, really important because we cannot measure good leadership just by numbers. Jesus only took 12. If it was about numbers, then he failed. Right? So I just want to challenge you to shift your thinking around leadership and let it begin with you. Last thing I want to say, as you are learning to lead yourself in your spirit, your soul, your body, your heart, your finances, your purpose. In Royal Hybrids, the group coaching that we do, we focus a lot on the seven different trees in the abundant life, right? The 7 elements of an abundant life ecosystem. We don't want to develop in one area. You want to be developed in all of it. What is the point if you have a great looking ministry and your kids don't want to talk to you and your wife doesn't enjoy time with you when you're alone? What is the point if you got good relationships and your ministry is going well, but you're broke and you're constantly begging, because you don't understand how money works. What is the point if those things are going well, but you're sick, you're unhealthy, you can't walk upstairs, you can't run up the road, you've let your body go. Your body is the temple, right? It's important. There's a reason God gave you a body. So we focus on development in all aspects of this ecosystem. And so self-leadership requires me to think about, how am I developing my spirit? How am I developing my soul, my mind, my will, my emotions? How am I developing my body? How am I developing my heart posture towards the one that matters the most? How am I developing my relationships? How am I developing my finances? How am I developing my purpose? All these gifts that have been given to me, they've been given to me. They demonstrate my self-leadership. And so in your life, how are you leading yourself? That is where it begins. And most people don't take enough accountability for that. So I'm praying that you will start to take accountability in your life, that you will start to take ownership. When I meet people who are so frustrated about other people, why don't they see it? Why don't they understand me? Why don't they get me? Why aren't they like me? Good leaders never waste time on those kind of thoughts, because they're too busy going about their Father's business in their life. And I can guarantee you, as you go about the Father's business in your life, as you start to lead yourself and let yourself be led by God, right? And I didn't go into some of the basics like that. So like, good leaders are led by God, because that would be a long podcast. But as you let yourself be led by God and you develop yourself, all the other things fall into place. Okay. So wishing you a season of good self-leadership. You want to grow in this? There's a link in the caption. Click on that, jump into our group mentorship, and you can be with like-minded individuals that are all going down that same path. If not, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Share it with your friends, and I'll be on more and more in the time to come. So bless you, and we'll talk soon.